snowiest day...
Ugh. It's so cold and snowy out, Tammy.
I know, Danny. This has to be the coldest, snowiest day ever.
You think this is cold? Let me tell you a story about Mike the Viking.
Granny Franny, who is Mike the Viking?
And why are you wearing that helmet?
This was Mike the Viking's helmet, and he was your great-grandfather. It all started one day, a long, long time ago, in the faraway land of Norway. Mike was a Viking. Even though he was a Viking, Mike didn't like to fight. And he was always nice. Mike really wanted a bike. He searched high and low, but all he saw was ice and snow. But then Mike spied something off in the distance. It was a bike trapped in ice on top of a white snow-covered mountain. Mike climbed the mountain for 9 hours. Mike climbed all through the night. It was so cold he got icicles on his beard. Mike was tired, but he kept on climbing. He finally reached the top of the mountain. At sunrise, he saw the bike in the ice. Mike used his iron Viking knife to chip the ice away from the bike. Then he decided to ride the bike all the way down the mountain. Whee! This bike is fine, yelled Mike all the way down the mountain. Mike had the biggest, happiest smile ever seen on a Viking. And that's the story of your great-grandfather, Mike the Viking.
Oh, tell us another story, Granny Franny.
Yeah.
It's getting late. It's time for bed.
No. Please?
Please.
Okay, how about I tell you the story of your great-Aunt Gertrude, the Fire Queen, and her black heart.
You're right. It's getting late.
Yeah, we better get to bed.
Click on the next activity. Find it pink. Done. Continue to next activity. Add to Great job! Click on the next activity.
The mystery of the missing ball. One bright sunny Saturday, Shayna and her brothers were playing softball in the backyard. Evan was the catcher, Keith was at bat. Shayna pitched the ball, but Keith missed.
Strike one,
called Evan. Shayna pitched, but Keith missed again.
Strike two,
cried Evan. Shayna pitched a third time. Bam! Keith hit the ball all the way to the fence. It bounced off and landed in the tall grass.
Way to go!
Shayna told her brother.
I didn't know I could hit that far.
declared Keith. I bet I can hit the ball even farther, said Evan. Kids, called their mom. It's time for lunch. The children turned and raced toward the house. Wait until I tell Mom what I did, Keith said. Wait until I tell Mom what I'm going to do, said Evan. Inside the house, their mom told them to wash their hands before lunch. Bet I can get back to the table first, said Evan. He ran toward the bathroom. No fair, said Keith, taking off after him. You got a head start. When the boys returned, Shayna was already sitting at the table. How did you wash your hands so fast? Asked Keith. I used the kitchen sink, she said. Why didn't I think of that? Asked Evan. After lunch, it was Evan's turn at bat. Shayna was still going to be the pitcher. She went over to the fence and looked around. It's missing, she exclaimed. What's missing? Asked Evan. Our ball, Shayna replied. Where did it go? Keith asked. I don't know, Shayna said. Let's keep looking. Evan and Keith went over to help. They couldn't find the ball either. Who would take it? Asked Evan. And when did they take it? Keith added. Well, whoever it was must have taken the ball while we were eating lunch, said Shayna. Why would someone take our ball? Asked Keith. Maybe they wanted to play with it, Shayna said. How are we going to find it? Evan asked. We can't play softball without a ball. I have an idea, said Shayna. We'll look for clues. Let's spread out, said Evan. He looked in the garden. Keith searched in some weeds growing by the fence. Look, he cried. What did you find? Evan asked. A ladybug, said Keith. You can look for bugs later, said Shayna. Right now, we've got a job to do. Shayna stopped in the middle of the lawn and yelled, Come look at this! What is it? Evan asked. I think it's slime, replied Shayna. Cool! Cried Keith. What would slime be doing in our yard? Asked Evan. Unless we're under attack by a bunch of slugs. I don't see any slugs, said Shayna. Maybe they're invisible slugs, Keith replied. Shayna rolled her eyes. Let's keep looking for clues, she said. Evan went to look along the side of the house and found a pile of dirt. He called Shayna and Keith over. How did this get here? He asked the others. I don't know, said Shayna, looking behind him. But there's another one. And another one, Keith added. Someone, or something, had dug a line of holes. The kids followed the line to where it stopped under a large bush in the front yard. Shayna saw something white underneath the bush. It was their ball. She reached down and grabbed it. Ew! She cried. It's covered in slime. Maybe the slugs are hiding under there, said Evan. He got down on the ground and looked underneath the bush. My old catcher's mitt is under here, he said. And Keith's superhero toy and your jump rope. I was wondering where that went, said Shayna. Who do you think took these things? Suddenly, the dog from next door bounded into the yard. Hi, Patches, greeted Shayna as she bent down to pet him. How are you, boy? The dog gave Shayna a big sloppy lick on the face. Ew, Patches, said Shayna. Your dog's slobber is slimy. Hey, wait a minute. That wasn't slug slime on the ball. It was dog slobber. I bet Patches dug those holes, Evan guessed. But the holes weren't big enough for the things he took, so he put them under the bush to play with later.
So Patches took our ball?
Keith asked. As if to answer him, Patches grabbed the ball right out of Shayna's hand and took off. The children chased him across the yard. Their softball game was over, but a game of fetch had just begun.